Guys. Sorry, everybody out there. Let's try this again. If you watched last night's fight, you saw William Zepeda beat Lamont Roach and thoroughly beat him by unanimous decision. Let me tell you something. That year that Zepeda took off and came back, he was like a new fighter, rejuvenated, refreshed. Lamont Roach put up a valiant effort, but he wasn't doing enough to secure the victory. Waiting for spots to fight, one punch at a time, it's not going to work as this fighter like Zepeda, who throws punches in volumes, throws punches from every angle, goes upstairs and downstairs, and constantly working. When he did hit Zepeda or knocked his rhythm, Zepeda would come right back, hit him with five or throw 5 or 6 or 7 shots. And believe it or not, from the amateurs to the pros, I used to always tell my fighters, listen, don't stop at a combination. Throw punches in volumes. 9 times out of 10, when you throw punches in volumes, guaranteed they're going to be the ones that land. So if I was Lamont Roach, take a couple of days off, get back in the gym, watch the tapes again, go back to the drawing board and have at it. Run it again, or, set up something different where you can get your confidence back and, just put on a better performance. No shame in your loss. You just came up short this time. In some sad news, the Devin Haney and Keyshawn Davis fight has been canceled. I don't understand. I know the business aspect of it. They were talking about this purse being about $8 million. Of course, Devin Haney was going to get $6 million and some change, and Keyshawn Davis was going to get about $2 million and some change. Now, I don't know the heart of Keyshawn Davis or, why he chose not to take the fight, whether it was a financial thing or whatever it can be. But in this day and age, seeing that Keyshawn Davis, I think his biggest purse was about $1 million. Maybe he felt slighted. Maybe he felt lowballed and said, no, I'm kind of worth more than that. There's a lot of fractions or intangibles you got to think about. You got to think about in this fight, are you the A side or the B side? And based upon the amount of money that they were giving you, you were the B side. So as a B side fighter, you may have to swallow a little pride, get your $2 million and $2 million 13 and some change, go ahead and take it. And if you can beat Devin Haney, then when you become a champion, then you can orchestrate. You could price who you want to fight and what the purse is going to be. But when you're coming up and you make the challenge and you don't want it, then where does that leave you? Then people are going to say, well, you're scared, they don't like you, whatever the case may be. But listen, this is boxing. I understand the risk has got to be worth the reward. I understand that. But at the same time, you got to remember, you pulled up to challenge him, the A fighter. You've got to take it. But now we may never know that now. So what's going to happen now? What does that look like? Well, I don't know if that puts both fighters in a predicament, because that fight is not going to happen. So if I was Devin Haney, who do you go to at this point in time? You got Boots out there, and you got Sebastian Fedora. If I was Devin Haney, I got to call one of them out, because the fans want to see titles on the line. The fans want to see who's the best. So why not make that fight happen? I know that Keyshawn Davis would make, based upon his decision, have put you in a predicament, but now you've got to come back with something greater, or you got to come back that's going to bring interest right now. If I were you, I would fight Sebastian Fedora instead of Boots, because I think Boots would be a world of problems for you. But, this is boxing, and if you don't want problems, don't become a world champion. So it'll be interesting. But, again, let me go back and say something as far as the money is concerned. I remember years ago in the welterweight, you had the junior welterweight, when you had the junior welterweight division, the welterweight division, lightweight division, whatever. Aaron Pryor had beat Alexis Arguello, and he had relinquished his title, and he wanted to move up from junior welterweight to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, that bid on that fight between him and Leonard was based on $4 million. Leonard's people had offered a world champion $500,000 to fight Leonard. Okay. And of course, Aaron was like, well, listen, I'm not doing that. You're getting $4 million and I'm getting $500,000. Like, that's crazy. And I get it. So his people came right back around again and then offered Aaron Pryor $700,000. Now, you and I, that's a lot of money and it's a decent amount. But if you're a former world champion coming up and your opponent is getting $4 million and you're not even getting like a 30% break on that, there's no way. Because Leonard had stood to get at least, I think, $4 million or something like that. There's no way that he was going to turn around. Aaron Pryor was going to take that. There was no way. Not, because of the fact that he was a world champion too and just coming up to challenge. So I'm kind of back and forth on that, but I understand, the risk has got to be worth the rewards. And, when you don't get those purses right, then you're apt to have some issues. But in the same token, you have other guys, and we see in the heavyweight division, you had Fury, lowballing Usyk. It's going to be a 70-30 split. And Usyk was like, okay, no problem. And the reason why there's a difference between those fighters is Usyk knew without a shadow of a doubt that he could beat Fury. Fury's a great fighter, but if they fought 100 times, he can't beat Usyk. I mean, he just has his number. So it's rough where you have these purses out here and, they're not, I don't think financially they're conducive to wanting to make a fight. I think people can lowball people knowing that, yeah, if I pay them this much, they're not going to take the fight, or if I do this or whatever. But that's my spiel on that. And guys, I'm really sorry about the audio problems. I don't know what was happening, but I guess I have to do test runs from now on. Another thing, fights are coming up. Clarissa Shields is fighting Kay Scott, but I'm looking forward to. She should have a victory. But August the 22nd, Romero's fighting Teofimo Lopez. That should be an interesting fight. I'm not going to call anything yet. I'll do it maybe a week before the fight and talk about that. And from last week, I know it's no new news. Errol Spence is riding off into the sunset, and great champion, former champion, goes into the Hall of Fame. But as I said, I think leading up to that fight, when he fought Terrence Crawford, he took a major beating. And people that are in the fight game or know about the fight game have to realize this. When you lose a fight like that, it takes about 3 or 4 fights out of you. The fact that he didn't come back a year later or 9 months later, took 3 years off. It's hard to come back after fights like that. It's hard to come back and where your mind is going and people are saying, well, what are you going to do now? Or, you're reliving the fight and you're thinking about, is it worth it? Do I want to put my body through all this training? He had too much time to think. He had too much time to contemplate. And that hunger that made him a world champion slowly started to diminish. And that was the problem. and people don't think it's true. I remember Julio Cesar Chavez had fought Meldrick Taylor. Meldrick Taylor was a former champion Olympian, and he fought Julio Cesar Chavez and went to the 12th round. And with 2 seconds left, a referee at the time named Richard Steele stopped the fight. And I was fortunate enough years later to have lunch with Richard Steele in Kansas City. And I said, Mr. Steele, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. And we had a great conversation. We started talking about boxing and everybody. And I said, sir, got to ask you a question. I said, with the Meldrick Taylor and the Julio Chavez fight, with 2 seconds left, you stopped the fight. And my burning question was to him, how could you do it? I said, because like Meldrick was hitting Chavez with like 5-2. Like for every 5 punches Meldrick was throwing, Julio Cesar Chavez was only throwing 2 punches. So he said, if I had to do all over again, I would. And I sat back. I said, oh, please explain. He said, what the people at home weren't seeing, even people that were there, they didn't realize the damage in Julio Cesar Chavez punches that he was delivering to Meldrick Taylor. He said they were thudding, they were hurting punches, in so much that Meldrick Taylor had to be taken to the hospital, where he lost 2 pints of blood and the orbital bone was broken. And he said, I had to stop it. He said, I wasn't thinking about the time. I was thinking about, the damage that he was sustaining. And, to Richard Steele's credit, because he's a seasoned referee, I think there's some truth to that. And here's why. When they rematched, Julio Cesar Chavez knocked out Meldrick Taylor quicker. Meldrick Taylor went up in weight and took on Terry Norris, which was a huge mistake. He was never the same after that. That fight, that beating that he took from Chavez ruined him. There was another fight at one time, a guy named DEVIN Moore, who had fought Roberto Duran. Same thing. Duran punished him. And when it was all said and done, DEVIN Moore was never the same fighter again, unfortunately. So with that being said, that's my take on this time with Coffee with the Champ. Not much to be said. I'm trying to get back into it. I have a great background now, one of 2 walls that I have. I'll be going from wall to wall, talking about boxing. But this was a brainchild of a good friend of mine that helped me do this, and eternally grateful for that, because I couldn't have done it on my own. I'm not a decorator of any sort. But yeah, so with that being said, I look forward to trying to do something or try to keep you informed with boxing news. I have reached out to a former world champion, and you know who you are. Please give me a call. You told me you do the show. So I'm looking forward to that happening. And until then, thank you for tuning in. Again, let me apologize for the delay. Don't hold it against me. Still working the kinks and the bugs out of the system. But it's probably, when it's all said and done, it's operator error. And I take full responsibility to that. But until then, folks, have a great weekend. God bless. Remember, tune in again when I'll let you know. Coffee with the Champ will be back on the air. And my audio will be fine. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts, your comments. Hey, listen, boxing is a sport that I've been involved in ever since I was in 2nd grade. I love it. I also like for people to give me likes. I'm not asking for anything or anything like that. But if you like the show, you want to see something different, you want to ask me questions, please feel free. You can email me at coachdale53@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to have another topic or discussion about boxing. But let me know your thoughts, your comments. Please feel free to leave them in there. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend. Take care. See you next time, and stay safe.